And they looked at me like, what do you mean? And I don't think they ever did.
Paris, September 26th, 2003. A five-star hotel, a music legend's final night. Robert Palmer, the suave British rocker who had defined sophistication in the 1980s, was dead at 54. No long illness, no public warnings, just a sudden heart attack in the early hours of the morning. Fans were stunned. Friends were confused. Was it his relentless perfectionism? His notorious smoking habit? Or was there something more beneath the polished exterior of the man who made Addicted to Love an anthem?
Can't get enough, you're gonna have to face it, you're addicted to love.
Palmer wasn't just a rock star, he was a contradiction. He exuded charm, but shunned the spotlight. He cultivated a sleek, tailored image, but was obsessed with raw, genre-blending music. He sold millions of records, but remained an enigma even to those closest to him. Unlike the wild, drug-fueled excesses of his rock star peers, Palmer was the epitome of restraint, at least in public. Privately, however, his life was a maze of career gambles, romantic entanglements, and an unrelenting need for control. As the world processed the news of his sudden passing, whispers began. Why Paris? Why had he flown from London alone for what was supposed to be a short trip? Why had his longtime partner Mary Ambrose not been there? Reports surfaced of a mystery woman in his final hours, fueling tabloid speculation. Meanwhile, others pointed to his ruthless work ethic, his notorious chain-smoking habit, sometimes 60 cigarettes a day, and his obsessive perfectionism as the silent culprits behind his demise. Robert Palmer had spent his entire career carefully crafting his image. But in death, the one thing he could no longer control was the truth. What really happened to the man who had it all? And how much of his legacy was built on success, sacrifice, and scandal? Robert Allen Palmer was born on January 19, 1949, in Batley, Yorkshire, England. But his childhood was far from ordinary. His father worked in British naval intelligence, a job that took the family to Malta, where young Robert was exposed to a world beyond his modest English roots. It was there, in the Mediterranean heat, that he first encountered American music, a sound that would shape his career in ways no one could have predicted. Unlike many future rock stars, Palmer wasn't drawn to music through rebellion or angst. Instead, it was a fascination with style, sound, and precision that captivated him. Listening to jazz, blues, and soul on American Forces radio, he became obsessed with the smooth vocals of Nat King Cole and the raw energy of Little Richard. This wasn't just entertainment, it was an education. By age 15, Palmer was back in England and already chasing his dream. He joined his first band, the Mandrakes, a local group playing in Scarborough's clubs. Though they never hit the big time, Palmer stood out. His voice was more polished than his peers, his stage presence more refined. While others mimicked the rock stars of the day, he was already crafting something different, a blend of rock, soul, and sophistication that would later become his signature. It wasn't long before industry insiders took notice, but Palmer's rise wouldn't be a straight shot to fame. He would spend years honing his craft, moving from band to band and navigating the unpredictable world of the music business before finally breaking through. His journey was only just beginning. Robert Palmer's solo career didn't begin with instant superstardom, but when he finally broke through, he did it with a style and sound entirely his own. After years of fronting bands like Vinegar Joe, where he showcased his bluesy rock vocals, Palmer made the bold move to go solo. In 1974, he released his debut album, Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley, recorded in New Orleans with members of the legendary funk band The Meters. The album was an underground hit, blending rock, soul, and funk in a way that set him apart from traditional rockers of the era. Though it didn't dominate the charts, it established Palmer as a serious artist with an ear for innovation. By the late 1970s, he had fully embraced a slicker, more commercial sound. His 1979 album, Secrets, delivered Bad Case of Loving You, Dr. Doctor, a track that became a radio staple and earned him widespread recognition. But Palmer wasn't content with sticking to one formula. His 1980 album, Clues, saw him experiment with synth pop and new wave influences, producing hits like Johnny and Mary and Looking for Clues. These tracks resonated with European audiences, where his sound found an even stronger foothold. Then came 1985, the year that changed everything. With the release of Riptide, Palmer became a global phenomenon. The album's lead single, Addicted to Love, was an unstoppable force, rocketing to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and becoming one of the most iconic songs of the decade. But it wasn't just the song, it was the image. The music video, featuring Palmer in a sharp suit surrounded by emotionless model-like women, became a visual landmark of MTV culture. Overnight, Palmer went from respected musician to household name. Rather than fading after his biggest hit, Palmer kept pushing forward. His 1988 album, Heavy Nova, delivered another smash with Simply Irresistible, a song that mirrored the energy of Addicted to Love and earned him another Grammy Award. By this point, Palmer had perfected his persona, sophisticated, stylish, and effortlessly cool. Unlike many rock stars, he never embraced the excesses of the era. No wild scandals, no public meltdowns, just sharp suits, smooth vocals, and an ever-evolving sound. By the early 1990s, Palmer's mainstream dominance began to wane, but his reputation as a unique and talented musician was firmly established. He had successfully crafted a career on his own terms, proving that true artistry could coexist with commercial success. By the mid-1980s, Robert Palmer was already an established solo artist, but in 1984 he made a move that would bring him even greater visibility and controversy. That year, the Power Station was formed, a supergroup featuring John Taylor and Andy Taylor of Duran Duran, drummer Tony Thompson of Chic, and producer Bernard Edwards. The band aimed to create a harder, funk-driven rock sound, blending Thompson's powerful drumming with aggressive guitar riffs and Palmer's soulful vocals. From the start, Palmer seemed like an unusual choice. The other members were younger, heavily associated with the new wave movement, while Palmer was a polished, sophisticated singer in his mid-30s. But when the band recorded its self-titled album, everything clicked. His vocals on Some Like It Hot and Get It On, Bang a Gong were electrifying, giving the songs a raw energy that made them stand out. The album was a commercial success, hitting #6 on the US charts, and both singles became major hits. Just as the Power Station was gearing up for a massive world tour, Palmer abruptly quit. The decision stunned his bandmates, especially since the group had just booked high-profile TV appearances and live performances. Rumors swirled about why he left. Some claimed he had only joined the project to boost his own career and had no real interest in the band. Others suggested that he disliked the idea of being part of a group when he had already built a strong solo career. The most controversial theory? That Palmer used the Power Station as a stepping stone for his next big solo project. Just a few months after leaving, he released Riptide, the album that contained Addicted to Love. The timing was suspicious. Had Palmer used the supergroup to regain the spotlight just before launching his biggest hit? John Taylor was reportedly furious, feeling betrayed by Palmer's sudden departure. Even Andy Taylor, who later had his own issues with the band, admitted that Palmer's exit was unexpected and left them scrambling for a replacement. Despite the backlash, Palmer never apologized or explained his decision in detail. Instead, he doubled down on his solo career, proving that he didn't need a band to stay relevant. Years later, some critics softened their stance, acknowledging that Palmer's instincts had been correct. Riptide was a game-changer, and staying in the Power Station might have limited his career trajectory. Still, his sudden exit left a stain on his reputation. Some saw him as a calculated opportunist, willing to abandon collaborators for personal gain. Others believed he was simply an artist who valued creative independence above all else. Whatever the truth, the Power Station scandal remains one of the most puzzling and debated moments of his career. A moment that, despite the drama, only fueled his rise to the top. Robert Palmer exuded sophistication. With his tailored suits, smooth vocals, and polished demeanor, he cultivated an image of a refined gentleman, a stark contrast to the wild, untamed rock stars of the 1980s. But behind the controlled exterior, Palmer's personal life was far messier than he ever let on. For years, Palmer maintained the reputation of being a devoted family man, married to his wife Sue Palmer, née Thatcher, since 1971. Together, they had 2 children and lived a relatively private life in Lugano, Switzerland, far from the chaos of Hollywood and the music industry's party scene. While many of his contemporaries indulged in open affairs, drugs, and reckless behavior, Palmer was perceived as someone who stayed out of trouble. But this was only half the story. Behind the scenes, whispers of a double life followed him. By the late 1980s, rumors swirled that Palmer was involved in an intense, secret relationship with a woman named Mary Ambrose, a much younger aspiring singer who worked as his assistant. Some accounts claim the two met in the early 1990s, but others suggest their relationship started while he was still married, fueling speculation about whether his marriage had been falling apart long before the public knew. By 1993, Palmer and Sue had quietly divorced, and Ambrose became his full-time companion. But their relationship was anything but simple. Ambrose was significantly younger, and while Palmer never publicly discussed their romance, insiders claimed the relationship was volatile, dramatic, and filled with emotional highs and lows. Some described it as a classic case of an older, wealthy man being captivated by a younger, unpredictable woman, while others believed Ambrose had a controlling influence over Palmer in his later years. Then came the legal battles. After Palmer's death in 2003, Mary Ambrose found herself embroiled in a bitter court fight over his estate. Reports surfaced that she had been left out of his will entirely, despite being his partner for years. To make matters worse, there were claims that she had illegally sold Palmer's belongings and misrepresented her legal rights to his estate. Some media outlets painted her as a manipulative figure who had tried to cash in on Palmer's success, while others saw her as a woman who had been unfairly pushed aside after years of loyalty. Palmer, for his part, never publicly acknowledged the scandals. Unlike other rock stars who made headlines with their affairs and personal chaos, he remained tight-lipped about his private life, refusing to confirm or deny the allegations surrounding his relationships. Some saw this as a sign of class and discretion. Others believed he was simply hiding the truth to maintain his image. The contrast between Palmer's clean-cut public persona and the messy reality of his personal life only added to the intrigue. Was he a loyal, sophisticated artist unfairly caught in controversy, or had he masterfully concealed the truth for decades? Even after his death, the mystery of his double life remained unsolved, ensuring that Robert Palmer's name would always be associated with more than just music. Robert Palmer was a man of precision. From his perfectly tailored suits to his meticulously crafted music, he obsessed over the details that made him stand out in an industry filled with excess and chaos. But his perfectionism didn't stop at his image. It extended to his health, his habits, and the way he lived his life behind closed doors. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Palmer wasn't a wild, self-destructive rock star drowning in drugs and alcohol. In fact, he took a disciplined approach to his health, refusing to indulge in the vices that consumed so many musicians of his era. He prided himself on staying sharp, looking polished, and maintaining a lifestyle that defied the typical rock and roll stereotype. However, there were darker sides to this obsession. Palmer was known to push himself relentlessly, sometimes to the point of exhaustion. He spent long hours perfecting his music, working tirelessly in the studio, and ensuring that every performance met his exacting standards. He was also known to control his diet strictly, avoiding excess and maintaining a lifestyle that kept him in peak condition, at least on the surface. Yet, despite his careful lifestyle, Palmer hid a major health secret. In the years leading up to his death, he privately battled high blood pressure, a condition that can be exacerbated by stress, genetics, and lifestyle factors. While some sources suggest he was aware of the risks, others claim he dismissed concerns, believing he was in good shape due to his disciplined habits. His health struggles remained a well-kept secret as Palmer never spoke publicly about any medical issues. He continued performing and recording music as if nothing was wrong. Even when he began experiencing signs of strain, he refused to slow down, determined to maintain the image of a man in control. On September 26, 2003, Palmer's hidden health battle came to a tragic end. While staying in Paris, he suffered a sudden and fatal heart attack at just 54 years old. The news shocked fans and the music industry alike. How could someone who seemed so put together, so careful about his image and health, die so unexpectedly? In the aftermath, speculation grew. Some questioned whether Palmer had ignored warning signs, choosing to push through his career instead of seeking proper medical attention. Others wondered if his obsession with perfection and control had masked deeper issues that no one saw coming. What remains undeniable is that Robert Palmer's death was as unexpected as it was tragic. A man who had spent his entire life cultivating a flawless image had, in the end, left behind one final mystery. Was his health failure inevitable, or was it a consequence of his relentless pursuit of perfection? Robert Palmer's final hours were as unexpected as they were tragic. To those who had seen him just days before, he seemed like the same stylish, composed, and controlled man he had always been. There was no public indication of an impending health crisis, no sudden weight loss, no noticeable fatigue, no dramatic change in his demeanor. He had spent a lifetime crafting an image of effortless sophistication, and in his last moments, he maintained that illusion. On September 25, 2003, Palmer arrived in Paris, France, a city he had visited many times before. He had no scheduled performances, no major commitments, just a brief stop in one of his favorite cities. He was staying at the luxurious Warwick Hotel, a fitting location for a man who had always exuded refinement. That evening, Palmer enjoyed a quiet dinner with his longtime companion, Mary Ambrose. The two dined at La Stresa, an upscale Italian restaurant known for its exclusivity. Witnesses recall that he appeared relaxed and in good spirits, showing no signs of distress or discomfort. He was, as always, immaculately dressed, maintaining his signature polished look. After dinner, Palmer and Ambrose returned to their hotel. There was no wild partying, no excess, no indication that anything was wrong. He simply went to bed expecting to wake up to another day, but that day would never come. In the early hours of September 26, 2003, Palmer suffered a sudden and fatal heart attack in his hotel room. He was just 54 years old. There were no paramedics called in time to save him, no frantic last-minute attempts to revive him. By the time emergency responders arrived, Palmer was already gone. News of his death sent shockwaves through the music industry. Fans and fellow musicians struggled to comprehend how a man who had always seemed so in control of his life could die so unexpectedly. Many refused to believe it at first, speculating whether foul play or undisclosed health issues played a role. As details emerged, it became clear that Palmer's death was not entirely unforeseen, at least to those closest to him. Though he had always appeared to be in peak condition, he had privately battled high blood pressure for years, a condition that often goes unnoticed until it's too late. Some sources suggested that he had ignored warning signs, pushing himself too hard and refusing to acknowledge his vulnerability. His sudden passing sparked rumors and conspiracy theories, with tabloids speculating about possible underlying causes. Some questioned whether stress, years of travel, or an unreported illness had contributed to his untimely demise. Others pointed to his close relationship with Mary Ambrose, leading to sensationalized headlines about their time together in Paris. Despite the speculation, the official cause of death remained simple: a heart attack, sudden and fatal. There was no scandalous revelation, no hidden agenda, just the abrupt end of a life that had been meticulously curated until the very last moment. In the days following his death, tributes poured in from friends, colleagues, and fans around the world. But beneath the public mourning, there was an undeniable sense of disbelief. How could Robert Palmer, so controlled, so composed, so seemingly untouchable, be gone in an instant? Robert Palmer left behind more than just a collection of hit songs. He left a lasting imprint on the music industry and pop culture. His career, spanning over 3 decades, was defined by versatility, style, and an unwavering commitment to his craft. Unlike many of his peers, Palmer never chased trends. Instead, he masterfully blended genres, from rock and blues to funk and reggae, creating a sound that was uniquely his own. His biggest commercial success came in the 1980s, with chart-topping hits like Addicted to Love and Simply Irresistible. These songs, accompanied by their now iconic music videos featuring a group of expressionless, impeccably dressed women, redefined the visual language of MTV and solidified Palmer's status as a sophisticated rock star. His suave, tailored image became just as recognizable as his music, making him a symbol of cool elegance in an era dominated by excess and flamboyance. Despite his fame, Palmer never became a tabloid fixture. He valued privacy over spectacle, preferring to let his work speak for itself. This dedication to authenticity earned him the respect of fellow musicians and critics, even as changing musical landscapes pushed him away from mainstream success in the 1990s. Though he was never a household name in the same way as some of his contemporaries, his influence on modern music is undeniable. His ability to cross genres, his meticulous attention to production, and his effortlessly stylish persona continue to inspire artists today. In the end, Robert Palmer's legacy is one of timeless sophistication, musical innovation, and an unshakable devotion to artistic integrity, a lasting testament to a man who never compromised, even in an industry that demanded it. If you love uncovering the untold stories behind the biggest names in entertainment, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more shocking celebrity revelations, only on our channel.